All right, folks, President Biden is making moves and we need to talk about them. He just dealt a major blow to the Republican Party after he maneuvered them by vetoing a bill that was supposed to be bipartisan, but it secretly gave Trump a head start for his presidency from day one. Now, over the past 2 days, Biden has made multiple critical decisions to help protect our institutions, safeguard the guardrails that barely held the first time around. One of them even happened early this morning. Very early this morning, President Biden did something that will piss Trump off, because we know that Trump wants to hit all of our institutions with a sledgehammer on day one. They want to pick up exactly where they left off in January of 2021 and go full speed ahead from day one. And this time, Trump has loyalists surrounding him. This time, Trump has a better understanding of how to maneuver through our institutions and tear them down. That's why he's appointing people like Pete Hegseth or RFK Jr. or Tulsi Gabbard. It's very intentional. But I want to break this down because it's actually a brilliant move from Biden. So this bill that was just vetoed today initially was framed as this bipartisan effort to help address judicial vacancies, to help fill these positions so that all these cases aren't backlogged. But this turned out to be a maneuver from the Republicans because they only began to push this bill after Trump got elected because they wanted to give him the first opportunity to fill these lifetime judicial seats. They aren't just positions, they're tools to shape the judiciary's ideological balance for decades. And Biden's veto just stopped that cold in its tracks. Trump is mad, and we'll break that down, but this says Biden vetoes 66 new federal judgeships, blames hurried action by the House. Again, this was supposed to be a bipartisan bill, but President Biden said nah. President Biden on Monday vetoed a once bipartisan effort to add 66 federal district judgeships, saying hurried action by the House left important questions unanswered about the life-tenured positions. And Biden says there were a lot of unanswered questions, but what he really means is that Donald Trump should not be able to appoint a bunch of far-right judges, because by vetoing this bill, Biden prevented Trump from cementing a bunch of these far-right judges for decades. And then they would have judicial dominance over issues like voting rights. They would have judicial dominance over issues like labor protections or environmental regulations. Far-right people would be shaping the policy. So this decision shows the importance of individual action when all of our institutions are under threat. I talk about this on the show all the time. When Donald Trump comes in and starts to tear these institutions down, and we don't know who to trust, and Tulsi Gabbard as a DNI is just eroding all of our norms, individuals will have to hold the line. Do you guys remember last month when Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, was asked if he'll step down? He was asked if Trump's pressure will cause him to step down, and this dude said, no, that's illegal. I'm not going to step down. The president can't ask me to do that. And feel how you want about Jerome Powell, but people like that, holding the line on an individual level, will save us when the systems can't. So Biden's veto is a perfect example of that because he's holding the line. It shows that preserving our institutions comes down to one or two leaders making deliberate decisions to stop Trump or put roadblocks in his way. Another really good example of this article is titled, "Trump Rages at Biden for Wrecking His Plans for Executions." He said it makes no sense. President-elect Donald Trump reacted to President Joe Biden's commutation of the sentences of 37 of the 40 people on federal death row with befuddlement and disbelief. And again, President Biden did this to intentionally undermine Trump, who hit a modern record for executions during his term. Quote, Joe Biden just commuted the death sentence on 37 of the worst killers in our country. And keep in mind, this doesn't mean they're pardoned. This means they serve life in prison, but they just won't be killed via the electric chair. President Biden did this because of principle, and Donald Trump was mad. On Monday, the White House announced Biden had commuted the sentences of 37 men, except for the racist mass murderer Dylan Roof, anti-Semitic mass murderer Robert Bowers, and terrorist Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar. I don't know how to say that. Either way, those people are pieces of shit. The decision was explicitly designed to stifle the death penalty-loving Trump, who oversaw a modern record 13 federal executions during his first term before he returns to office. A modern record, and Trump was not happy. But back to the veto of the bill, I mean, these link together perfectly because Biden is clearly using his last month to try to put as many roadblocks in Trump's way as possible. And there's a few ways we can do this. We could strengthen our regulatory agencies before Trump comes into office. Biden has to appoint really resilient leaders to certain agencies before Trump is able to come in and undermine them, because these agencies will act as vital barriers. And of course, Trump can just do what he did and bully Christopher Wray out, but I do think through some executive actions, through some particular appointments of judges and placements of people, Biden can expand some of our access to, say, voter rights or secure election infrastructure, or just counteract what Trump is about to do when he gets into office. Because I don't have to tell you guys this, but Republicans have no principles, and it shows. Do you guys remember just yesterday when that report came out confirming that Matt Gaetz slept with a 17-year-old girl while he was in Congress, and he had a bunch of drug use, he had all of these sex parties with girls that were 17 to 22, even older, but he targeted younger girls, which is disgusting. Well, Donald Trump came to Matt Gaetz' defense and said that ethics report is very unfair. Give me a break. I was talking to Arya about this yesterday, but genuinely, QAnon is real. Everything QAnon thought was happening is real, but the roles were just reversed. Because remember, QAnon people thought that Democrats were behind the scenes, pulling the strings, making sure they covered up sexual abuse and predators. They thought that the Speaker of the House was deliberately hiding certain evidence that one of the Democratic people... This is exactly what happened on the Republican side. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson very deliberately tried to cover up a report that he knew would blow Matt Gaetz' career up, and Donald Trump helped. All of the Republicans helped. They all fell in line because they have no principles. And the point here is, Matt Gaetz got a message from Trump. It says, House probe into Matt Gaetz relies on witnesses DOJ found lacked credibility. And it says, Matt, very unfair. Okay, so this DOJ probe wasn't just based on one or two witnesses. They had a string of Venmo payments, a string of an actual paper trail, and dozens of young women coming together to verify this, and text messages. They had text messages where Matt Gaetz was agreeing to pay for the college classes of girls who were 18 or 19 or 20. So Matt Gaetz is a person in Congress with a lot of power. There's a lot of power imbalance there, and he's using that power to manipulate people, to pay off their college and get them to sleep with him. And Donald Trump just says, very unfair. He's running defense for them because they have no principles. So just to bring this back, I'm very glad that Biden is doing this now, preemptively trying to reinforce our guardrails in multiple ways, because Republicans don't care. They will nuke the entire system if it means owning the libs. Do you guys remember when Obama was trying to get a Supreme Court justice passed, and Mitch McConnell said, you can't do that, you have a year left, you can't do it with 1 year left. But when Trump tried to do the same thing after RBG died, they let him do it. They are hypocrites who will do anything to gain power, and I think we need to start acting like that too. I'm not saying we should do anything to gain power. I just mean Biden needs to do this times 10. He needs to do this over and over and over, because as Trump prepares to re-enter office with an agenda aimed solely at dismantling our institutional checks, actions like Biden's will become more and more important over time. The resilience of our democracy depends not only on the strengths of its systems, but again, the strength and the resolve of the individuals within those systems to act decisively. And that's us, that's you and I, people that are working from anywhere from like our mail people who deliver our mail every day to the people who live in DC. They're all individuals who will be holding the line when Donald Trump tries to undermine our checks. I mean, speaking of mail people, do you guys remember back in 2020 when Donald Trump was trying to undermine not only our voting systems, not only our voting machines, not only our district attorneys and even Republican governors like Kemp, but he was even saying the male men, the male women were helping rig the election. So that's why I brought up male people. I mean, all of these people, everybody on every level is going to have to hold the line, including Biden, including you. Love you guys. Merry Christmas, by the way. Merry Christmas Eve. To all that celebrate, I hope you have a great time with your family. Thank you for spending all this time with me throughout this year. We're going to do some great things over the next 2-4 years beyond. So stay tuned. Love you guys. Have a great time with your family, and peace out.